Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the GSMC Hockey Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host today, guys, Garrison McDaniel, and we'll be talking about a bunch of great things tonight. We'll start off the night by talking about the game that is currently ongoing between the Rangers and the Panthers. Actually, as I say that, I should probably take a look, put it on this screen over here so I could keep you guys up to date with that game. It was 1-0 last time I checked in. It is still 1-0 with the Matthew Tkachuk goal about halfway through that game. We're 8 minutes left in the second period. The Panthers up 1-0 in New York for game one. So that will be our first topic of the day. I'll give you guys my keys to that game and to the series. Our second segment of the night will be the top storylines for the conference final, what we should be looking out for in the East and in the West. Our third segment is going to be a report that came out from the NHL PR today that I found really interesting and would love to share with you guys. Make sure you stick around later in the show where I'll be talking about the IIHF tournament that's going on right now, the international tournament in hockey. And then we will end our show by previewing the Western Conference Final. Before we start, guys, I would love to ask that you like and follow the show if you're enjoying it. We also get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your questions get read live on air, use the tips and donations link at gsmcpodcast.net with any questions or comments. This puts your question at the top of the list so that I'm able to see it, and it also really helps the show. Again, the link is, as you see on the screen, gsmcpodcast.net. Alright, guys, we're going to get right into our first segment of the night where we're talking about the Rangers-Panthers Game 1. And as I've already said, it is 1-0 here. I'm going to have it up on this screen throughout the show. If I see any changes in that, I will give you guys the update the second I see it. But the keys to this series that I listed out on the Monday show that I think I would love to reiterate for this one. The first one was the forward groups. Which of the star-studded forward groups is going to prevail here? We went through and listed all the forwards on Monday's podcast. If you want to listen to that a little bit more in depth, you can go ahead and listen to that one on the Monday show. But really, I think that is the biggest key to this series and to especially this game one. Which forward group is going to be able to beat the goaltender the best? Because these are two of the greatest forward groups, but it's also Sergei Bobrovsky versus Igor Shesterkin, two of the best goaltenders in the National Hockey League. Both of them are Vezina finalists this year, so that's going to be a huge matchup looking at that. I'm looking at the forward groups to see who does best in this game, but that also means I'm looking at the defensive production. Offensively, getting production from your defense means that you're not relying so much on your forward group, and it's going to be that mix up. You have the two star-studded defensemen in this series. One side, Adam Fox for the New York Ranger, former Norris Trophy candidate, and on the other side, it's Aaron Ekblad, who is a perennial Norris Trophy candidate. He was the number one overall pick for the Florida Panthers in 2014. So, looking at the defensive production, that is going to be a huge indicator for who's going to come out on top of this series. Another big thing for this series is 5-on-5 play. We talk about it more notably with all of the Oilers series, and since their power play is so productive, you're looking at you're looking at the other team to win 5-on-5, right? We're going to be talking about that in our fifth segment, but when it comes to this Rangers-Panthers one, I think it's also worth talking about this because the Rangers and the Florida Panthers have the second and third respective penalty killing units in the National Hockey League from the regular season. Both of them have been very good in the playoffs as well. The Rangers are the better power play unit. They are the third best power play unit in these playoffs behind the Colorado Avalanche and Edmonton Oilers. So that might be an area that they can separate themselves. However, you never know if they're going to actually be able to do so. I talked about the goaltending matchup. I would love to talk about this more. Igor Shesterkin is the best goaltender in the NHL, and we see it game in and game out. But Sergei Bobrovsky has been amazing this season. Just over 2 goals against average for Sergei Bobrovsky for the season. I believe he was at a 2.27. He was around a 920 save percentage as well. And he won some of the most games in the NHL. Sergei Bobrovsky was an amazing goaltender, and in a year that they were really looking at him to step up, because they have his replacement kind of waiting in the wings in Spencer Knight on the Florida Panthers. So Sergei Bobrovsky gained the production that he did is very, very exciting for the Florida Panthers. They have 2 amazing goaltenders over there in Florida. And then in New York, of course, Igor Shesterkin is the only goaltender really there. But he's the only goaltender they really need. Jonathan Quick, of course, is his backup. But that is a one-man show in the New York Rangers goal, and he's really showed that it only needs to be a one-man show. He showed that he is the best goaltender in the NHL. Still 1-0 in this game. This game, what I was seeing as Matthew Tkachuk was the one that scored the first goal. Very, very defensive-minded game. Hard hitting. Man, Matthew Tkachuk was laying his body. It was funny. In the first period, there was a moment that the announcer, I think it was Ray Ferrara, he said he was talking about Matthew Tkachuk and how he made a hit, and he called him Keith Tkachuk, legitimately on accident. Like, you could tell that was a mistake. Of course, for those of you that don't know, Matthew Tkachuk's dad, Keith Tkachuk, is a Hall of Famer. He played for the Blues. He played for a couple of teams throughout his career, but he is, of course, most notably played for the St. Louis Blues. I believe he is retired by the Blues, or his jersey is retired by the Blues. A legend of the sport, Keith Tkachuk. So it was funny to see Ray Ferrara get a little bit tongue-tied when Matthew Tkachuk, of course, scored. Or not scored, but when Matthew Tkachuk was laying the body, because of course that's what Keith Tkachuk was known for, was being that physical forward. So that was funny to see. But yeah, it was the Florida Panthers kind of imposing their will physically, as they're used to doing. This is kind of how they swept the Carolina Hurricanes last year. Was they were the bigger and stronger team, and they showed that. The New York Rangers now are no pushover, but they're gonna want to start producing. 9 shots on goal through 2 periods is not what you want to see if you are the New York Rangers. You're hoping that offensive production can turn around for them. However, the Florida Panthers, they're playing a fantastic defensive-minded game. Dmitry Kulikov, Aaron Ekblad, even their forwards, Anton Lundell, Gustav Forsling, Carter Verhaeghe, Matthew Tkachuk, all these guys are playing such a great two-way game. I didn't even mention Alexander Barkov, the Frank J. Selke winner for Best Defensive Forward in the NHL. So this Florida Panthers team is doing exactly what they want to do. So the New York Rangers need to find a way to make them uncomfortable, like the Florida Panthers are making the New York Rangers. I think if the New York Rangers can find their footing, probably it's going to take a power play goal or something to kind of find their footing in this series. You see it a lot of times with great forwards. All it takes is seeing one go through. This is kind of what happened during their comeback against the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 6 as they knocked off them by a Chris Kreider hat trick. That's a goal scorer. Seeing him kind of turn around and get that production really helps them out, of course. Really puts them over the edge. This New York Rangers team, of course, is the team that I have winning the Stanley Cup. Is the team that I have winning this series. Just talking about this one, I had them winning in 6. So I do believe that they're going to win this game, and I think that they're going to kind of have to if they do want a chance in this series. Of course, it's the old it's the old saying of a series doesn't start until a road team wins. Florida could take Game 1 on the road, and that gets very scary for the New York Rangers. We talk about how important home ice advantage is. and giving up home ice advantage in game one will be so unfortunate, especially a home ice advantage that is Madison Square Garden, the greatest, not the greatest, but one of the greatest home ice advantages in the NHL is Madison Square Garden. Of course, you have PNC Arena up there. Of course, you have Scotiabank Center up there. Of course, you have even the Vegas Golden Knights T-Mobile Arena is up there as well for best home ice advantage. So Madison Square Garden, you're wanting to take game one if you're the New York Rangers. You're probably going to have to take game one if you're the New York Rangers. So 3 minutes left in the second period. The Florida Panthers are still up 1-0. The Rangers are going to need to find a way to get on the board here, and probably going to need to find a way to get on the board here soon. They did play very well in the third period against the Carolina Hurricanes. But the Florida Panthers aren't the Carolina Hurricanes. The Florida Panthers have something the Carolina Hurricanes don't have, and that is a number one goaltender. Sergei Bobrovsky can definitely be the difference in this series compared to the Carolina Hurricane series. Sergei Bobrovsky is going to need to be that difference for the Florida Panthers. So they're going to find a way to figure him out. Of course, you have. And we'll talk about this during the storylines, but on the New York Rangers, they have a lot of Sergei Bobrovsky's former teammates when they were all at the Columbus Blue Jackets together. That's going to be one of the headlines I talk about in the next segment. So we're going to take our short break on the backs of that. Of course, Florida Panthers, to reiterate, up 1-0 to the New York Rangers in Game 1 with the second period winding down, 2.5 minutes left in that one. Of course, throughout the hour, I'm going to be giving you guys updates on that series, on that game. But with that being said, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the top storylines for the conference finals.